To the extent possible, if you're able to, turn your video on. I invite you to turn your video on so that the presenters today can see everyone's lovely face before we get going and know that you're here focusing. Also inviting you to find a comfortable spot to notice whatever came before. If it's still hanging on you, if you still feel the energy of it, just allowing it to be in the past and to go to the past. Taking a couple of breaths and noticing whatever you had to do before coming here, then that's done. And now you're here. And there may be things that you need to do tonight or that you think about doing after this. Those things can be done when this is done. So being here present, allowing yourself this time to just be engaging in an hopefully enjoyable experience of learning more about the energies of the universe, how they can be mixed together in order to address things in your life that may be patterns or experiences that you would like to see if you can alchemize a little bit. And so we are all here focused on one another, being here together, sharing our energy and boosting ourselves and boosting Yvette as she takes us through this journey today of our initial class on an adventure in alchemy. And I look forward to Yvette being here with you, present for the next hour or so. And I look forward to being here with all of you too. So, and hopefully you all do, and that you can give the energy throughout the hour back to Yvette as she's giving it to you and bringing that here. Taking a couple of breaths as she comes into this space, into the teaching space, and just finding the ground underneath you. Noticing that the earth is holding you here, steady, solid, nothing to do, nowhere to go. All is well. And a couple of breaths as we move into Yvette, you taking over, and then we'll come back later on.
Great. Thank you, Bridie. That was good. Okay, so this mental alchemy class. First of all, me and Bridie had a presentation last year at our convention, which, looking at the faces, I don't think anybody was there, so that's great. So we are, but basically we're expanding on the presentation that we had last year, because we had so much stuff that we wanted to put in there. But so anyway, so I'm going to do the first class, and I'm kind of going to do an overview in my own way with CC Zane. I don't know how to explain it. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Somebody switched to a different language. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to do both administrative stuff and the class, so things pop up and I have to check things out. Anyway, all right, so a few initial notes I want to make, announcements. All right, this series of classes is on the first Wednesday of every month minus July, and we're thinking we're going to go through till November. So the next class is Wednesday, June 4th at 6:30 Mountain Time. The series of classes, I already said that. All right, and then again, this is a free class, but you're welcome to make donations of any amount. Just go to our Church of Light website, and there's a big donate here button if you feel so inclined. So we appreciate all of you. All right, So now I'm going to have to get my PowerPoint up and running. And let me do that. Take 1 second to get that running. Slideshow. Oh no. All right, I'm going to do share screen. All right, and let's see if I can do the slideshow. Can everybody see that? Okay. All right. Great. All right. So, Mental Alchemy, How Thoughts and Feelings Shape Our Lives. And that's the subtitle from the book. Oops. Yeah, hold on. That's what I meant to do. All right. So I always like to start with definitions. Mental, pertaining to the mind, of course. And alchemy, at the basic definition, changing one thing into another by a series of processes. In mental alchemy, we want to change, usually we want to change our negative thoughts and habits into something more positive thoughts and habits. Or you can choose your own goal and what you want to accomplish. It's always good to have a goal before you start something, but the journey is part of it as well. But having a good endpoint is always good. And the processes that we are going to use, according to C.C. Zane, are directed thinking and induced emotion, to include mental antidotes and conversion. So our thoughts are kind of like the directed thinking part. It's like the steering wheel. It directs us where we want to go. Our thoughts will do that. Feeling, induced emotion, is like the gas pedal. That's going to get us to our goal faster. And we might wonder why, I don't know. At first, I had to think about that for a long time, about our emotions. How is that the gas pedal? But you can think of it as, let's see. Well, let's keep going. We'll talk about it as we go. All right. Slide 3, mental alchemy, what we need to know first. Okay, so before we get into these processes of directed thinking and induced emotion, we first need to know a few things about our unique self. How do we tend to think? We can just go about our lives and say, everything's working, and that's great. Then you don't need alchemy to change anything. But I have a feeling most of us, by the time we're 30 or 40, we come across issues and problems either in life or whatever. And we start to realize that part of that is habits that we've developed over our lifetimes have now don't serve us any longer. They're not working for us. They might have worked for us when we were in our 20s, but not so much now. So if we want to find out how we tend to think, our best tool is astrology, our birth chart, and learning astrology, because it maps out in a very organized way where our thoughts are, where we are born, and where they tend to go, by progressions. Then we want to know what affects how we think and feel, because we don't just think things in a perfect world. Things affect us deeply, and that can affect how we think. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, or just this last week, I started feeling bad in my body. And yesterday, I couldn't remember. I had short-term memory loss. It was crazy. I thought I'd left something here and there. And I'm like, I know I don't normally do this. So things affect us. It affects our thinking. we'll talk about the three primitive desires and body health. Like I said, our body's health can affect how we think and also definitely how we feel, but also how we think. And then what conditions how we think and feel, which is C.C. Zane talks about conditioning energy, and which is also about how our emotions from the past experiences affect our current thinking and our current habits. And then once we learn these things, we can use this information to properly use directed thinking and induced emotion, mental antidotes, and conversion. All right. Okay. So here's a quote from C.C. Zane. There is at all times and in all planes an intimate relation between the form occupied by the soul and the forces and conditions external to this form. Various stimuli affects the body and is felt by the soul. Both the body and the soul react to all such stimuli. In other words, after any particular experience, neither the body nor the soul is just the same as it was before. Something is added to the soul by every experience it undergoes. Okay, so this slide is a pie chart that actually comes from course 18, Imponderable Forces. Not the chart itself. That was, I think, developed by somebody from that book, based on that book. And C.C. Zane basically thinks this is how the breakdown of things are, on what affects us. So consciously directing our thoughts and emotions is going to be the majority of how we can change ourselves. And then the other part of it is astrological forces, which map how we tend to think by default. But we can use mental antidotes and conversion to change some of our default thinking habits. So this is a method, a process that we'll be able to use, hopefully by the end of these series of classes, to help us to change our default thinking. All right, so we talk about the thought-built body. This is the mental body, the four-dimensional body, which Zane talks about, which is also the astral body. These are our thoughts, emotions, unique experiences, and birth chart. Is this stuff cut off for you guys? The wording is cut off because the pictures are there.
We can see it.
You can see the whole thing, all the words?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. All right, so the thought-built body. So whenever Zane talks about the four-dimensional body, he's talking about the thought-built body, the mental body, the astral body. The astral body, of course, is mapped by our birth chart. Okay, so now let's talk about the thought-built body is similar in makeup to the physical body. So Zane often correlates the two. So for physical, when we start at the basic level, there's protons and neutrons in a nucleus, and electrons are moving around it, and they form an atom in the physical world. In the thought elements, we have the three primitive desires and drives. We have the three primitive desires and drives that are like the protons, electrons that form the atom in the thought-built body. So I'm going to read across and correlate the two. So the next one is number B. Atoms come together to make elements. and elements are organized into a table of elements for ease of understanding. Thought-built elements are the astrological planets and zodiacal signs. These can be arranged in a table for ease and understanding. Now, the reason when I read this in the book Mental Alchemy about the table of elements in the physical world, and then he's correlating into the thought elements, I started thinking about making a table with the signs and planets. I mean, we have a table when we talk about aspects, but I decided to make a table when it came to signs and planets and other things. And I'll show you that later on as we go. Okay, and then C, elements combine in different ways to form physical compounds, just as thought-built elements combine in different ways, like aspects, to form thought compounds. So if anybody's scientifically inclined, you know that elements come together in certain kind of ways. And so in our thoughts, these planets have aspects to each other. So they come together in certain kind of ways. So that's kind of how they're similar. Physical compounds come together to form cells in the physical body. And thought compounds, hold on a second. And thought compounds come together to form thought cells in thought belt body. So similar cells concentrate in areas of the body to form organs which make up the physical body, just as thought cells concentrate in areas to form thought structures, which make up the thought belt body or the four-dimensional body. So there's a correlation with everything. Everybody is different. We know this, right? We're very similar, and yet we're all different. Just as people's physical bodies react differently to taking medicine or eating different foods, the thought-built body reacts differently from others when ingesting experiences, even if they are the same experience that someone else is having. So in this picture, I'm showing like getting up in front of a classroom and talking. For some people in the class, this makes them feel confident and they develop a sense of being able to talk. Or they have that in their birth chart where it shows that they feel comfortable with that. For another student, they will never feel comfortable making a speech in public. And that can also be shown in their birth chart as well. Now, I'll say that your birth chart is not static and it doesn't have to rule you. What we want to look at in our birth chart is where our tendencies are, but it does not force us to do, if we choose to do something else. If our birth chart says we'll never be a public speaker, it doesn't mean we'll never be a public speaker. It just means that that's our general tendency. And if you don't want to change anything, you can live your whole life in the general tendency of your birth chart with progressions and everything else. However, that's why we want to learn about our birth chart so that we can say, okay, first I need to know where I started, what my tendency is. Now that I know that, now I can change it using these processes. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna find out where I'm at. All right, so let's start at the beginning. The three primitive desires, drives, So you can use those words interchangeably. Course 5 and Course 6 books. He calls them the three primitive drives are like the protons and electrons of an atom and constantly affect how we think and feel. So we have, like the proton, we have the reproductive desire. It's like the positive desire to attain significance through expression outside of self. It's the drive to reproduce offspring or creatively produce something in life. The nutritive desire is like the electron, the negative desire to attain that significance through adding something to the self. It's the drive for self-preservation, to sustain oneself through food and nourishment. And then the desire for significance is like the atom. The other two things kind of make up, well, the desire for significance is made up of the nutritive desire and the reproductive desire. The ego, or the energy to cause the soul or mind to ceaselessly struggle forward and to realize its destiny or function in the cosmic plan, is a spark of the divine fire, that is, pure spirit, an eternal atom of deity. It's the struggle to survive and to have purpose, which we all feel, and every cell in our body feels that desire. Because our cells are working towards something. Our liver cells have a purpose, right? All the cells in our body have a purpose to perform, a function to perform. And it feels this desire for significance. Animals feel it, everything feels it. So these desires and drives are inside every cell of our bodies and in every thought cell that makes up our mental bodies. These drives and desires are constantly affecting our lives through our thoughts and emotions. What do we do every single day? We eat food. Or if we don't eat food, that also affects us. How many people get angry when they are hungry, right? Or the word hangry. This affects our body. I mean, this is affecting us. And so how many people use food to soothe a negative emotion? So we can use food for something with our emotions. Some people have a love-hate relationship with food. Okay, then what about the reproductive desires? Our creativity, building a family or making a great piece of art. How many people work out their negative feelings through painting or making music or writing a book? So we've seen a lot of celebrities, they'll write their memoirs and it kind of is cathartic. It gets out all this emotions and stuff that they think about or whatever. Music is a wonderful, many musicians write about their feelings and emotions and have the music that goes through it. So the creativity expresses that desire to have purpose and meaning. Then what is our purpose for being? We all want to have some purpose to fulfill in our lives. What is it that gets us up in the morning? We all need to have a higher goal in life that projects us forward with purpose. Some people find purpose quickly, early in life. Others keep searching until late in life. So think about the three drives and desires that can affect our thoughts and emotions, or our moods, so to speak, which can affect or make us emotional. One of the more basic emotions is anger. How many of us become angry quickly or slowly over time when something is affecting one of these three drives? sometimes we get sometimes we can get angry when we feel like we've lost our sense of significance. Give an example. How many people get mad when somebody cuts you off in traffic? Emotion happens, right? Anger or something, or we get road rage, right? We know about this. Why in the world does somebody in a car cutting over makes us mad? It's not because when you really deep down and go back and think about it, because I got into a habit of getting mad on the road. This was a while ago. And then I started analyzing it because all of a sudden, all these people, all my friends and everybody was angry at the road, angry at this, angry at that. So I kind of, I brought that into my life as well because I was angry at this. And then I realized it's because it's our desire for significance that we feel is lacking, and it feels like somebody is not respecting us. I mean, I'm trying to get this happens in our life all the time. And when you start thinking about if you want to do directed thinking and induced emotion to change things, understanding why you get mad at things is going to help you. And these three primitive desires are at the root of a lot of that. So when you're unraveling why something affects you and why you go off on something, go back to these and you'll find often the significance. You feel like you're not respected or whatever. It's not the other people, it's us. It's what we're feeling that affects us. All right. So, all right, let me look at the time because my whole screen is, okay, it's 7 o'clock. All right. Ooh, okay, so I'm gonna pause right here. Does anybody, wait a minute, hold on a second. Okay, I just want to tell one other story about a person's drive for significance. So when I was a lot younger, I met this guy from Ethiopia, and we had the opportunity to tell stories, personal stories and stuff. And he told me the story of he grew up in Ethiopia, and then as he became a young adult, him and a friend found out that they could get a university education for free in Egypt just by being from Ethiopia. So they didn't have much money or anything, but they decided they had this drive for significance. They wanted to be educated. And they both went to Egypt. They got accepted into the university and they went and took classes. However, he told me he was often hungry because they had no money. So he didn't care. His drive for significance to get this university degree overrode his desire to have food and nourishment. He didn't care. So that's what a drive can do for us. And that made me learn something very valuable. Like, wow, we can overcome things with our drive. Our drive can be very strong. Drive for significance. All right, so here we are. Slide number 12. Okay, so I want to tell you, we all have the zodiac signs in our birth chart. Now, you might not have planets hitting your zodiac signs, but it doesn't mean that you don't have all the zodiac signs in your birth chart. We all have them. These are the fixed stars that are out there. So every single human that's born has the zodiac signs, I don't know how you want to say it, in their birth chart. There we go. So, okay, so to change your thoughts and and your life will begin to change around you. I got that from reading somewhere, someplace, but it's very true, because when I was going through a conflict with another person, I decided I had to change me. I couldn't change them. And when I started to change, all of a sudden they started to change. I don't know how or why, but it definitely happens. And when you're consciously trying to make a change, you will discover that everything around you will change as well. It takes a little time. Don't expect results right away, but you definitely, this is why mental alchemy is such a great topic, and something we all want to learn. So let's take a journey through the zodiac signs. So this is where we're going to start. Imagine you are the soul inside of a vehicle, like a car, that you're taking a trip to discover yourself. Sometimes it's a good idea to know where you are going. Other times, just enjoying the journey without thoughts of the final destination can be beneficial to some people. So we're going to take a journey. Okay. Change your thoughts, change your life, and your life will begin to change around you. That's going to be at the top of all my slides for all the zodiac signs. So let's start with Aries. Aries is fiery. Fire represents inspiration. Aries rules the head. Everything starts with ourself. I am. Again, I cannot change other people, no matter what. Like when we think about it, and we're like, oh, if we're complaining to a friend or something, we're like, if that person just did this, I'd be so much happier. It's never going to happen. We have to start with ourselves. It doesn't matter how much somebody else does something that bothers you or this or that. No matter how much you tell somebody to, can you please do this or that, you have to change yourself first. And that's where Aries begins, is I am. And this is how we change our lives. Thoughts of self or about self, and then how we balance the Aries, because Aries can get very self-involved. So thoughts of self are important in the fact that we know we have to change ourselves first before we can before our life changes. However, you should not get too self-absorbed. You balance it out by thinking of others. If you get too much inward of the self thoughts all the time, that can be very troublesome. So know that all these zodiac signs have the positive, the negative, and the neutral. And later we're going to find out with our birth charts if, we have too much, too little, or we're balanced just right. And we can see that through our aspects as well. Okay, and the next sign is Taurus. It's the earth element, which is practicality. Taurus rules the throat and the neck. So I see the Taurus as the physical, the physical body. What we have a physical body, we have physical possessions. It also rules that. And we feel our feelings in our physical bodies. If our body is unhealthy, this will affect how we are feeling. How we feel affects how we think, right? So if you take care of your physical body and do not neglect it over other priorities, a healthy body is needed to feel good and to help you generate healthy thoughts. And most of us know this, but there are people I've met that they don't care how bad their body is. They're thinking, I'm intelligent, I'm smart, I don't care, I'm witty, I don't care how my body's, doing. But that starts affecting us, all of us. So we can't neglect the body. Just, all right. Where am I? I'm gonna have to turn on my light. Excuse me for a second. So I can, okay. All right, so now we're on to Gemini. Gemini, I think it's an air sign. Air represents aspiration. Gemini rules the arms, shoulders, and lungs. There is a duality to our thinking because we communicate one to another. I think that sentence is wrong. We need two of something when we communicate. Communication comes from the word commune, which means to share. So we have a left brain and a right brain hemisphere that is in constant communication with each other, that controls either side of our body. Just like stroke victims, when one side of their brain has been disabled, you can see one side of their body is drooping and has issues. So that's the brain. Gemini rules both our conscious and our subconscious, which seems weird, but it makes sense because our conscious and subconscious are constantly communicating with each other. And that's seen in our arms, because we don't have to think about our two arms working together to do something, right? It's our subconscious thinking and processes that just they communicate. And it's also, our nerves are ruled by Gemini, and the nerves are the lines of communication. So our hands can, without consciously having to think about it, our hands work together, the two sides of our body works together. Also, it rules the lungs, which is really interesting because I had a friend that once told me our breathing is done both consciously and subconsciously or unconsciously, meaning most of the time we don't have to think about our breathing. We'll just breathe, right? It's one of those autonomic systems, autonomic nervous system, things that need to happen without us consciously thinking about it. Lots of things in our body do that. Breathing, however, is one of the things that you can do both consciously and unconsciously. So let me read my notes here. All right. Along with our two arms and hands, we don't have to consciously think about our arms. Okay, I already talked about this. Breath is one of the main things that works both consciously and subconsciously. We breathe when we don't even think about it, but we can also control our breath, slow it down, or speed it up. This is why we use breathing techniques to help us control our thoughts and subdue a wild nervous system. So how many times have you heard do breathing to calm yourself down? And we think, oh, I'm nervous. Why would I do breathing? Because it's Gemini, rules our lungs. We can also consciously modify our breathing to help modify our nerves, to help modify our thoughts, our crazy thoughts. That's why we use breathing techniques. And this will help our thoughts and our thinking. All right. And our thoughts move quickly and are generated from a constant communication happening between our left and right sides of our brains. Here is where we want to be in control of our thoughts consciously and not let our thoughts run wild and control us. And the reason I say this is because we all think we're in charge of our thoughts, but how many times have you had a stream of consciousness and your thoughts are going all over the place, and you're all of a sudden you go, what was I just thinking and why? And if you try to roll back, where did I start the thought process from, right? It's it's a little crazy. And that's our unconscious thinking. It's kind of like one thing remembers another thing that thinks of another thing that resembles another thing. Actually, Zane talks about that. Resemblance and contiguity. Um, Something will strike a thought of another thing. It seems like, and your thoughts can just kind of go all over the place. So we want to learn how to control our thoughts, right? All right. Next is Cancer. I feel. It is water, and water represents emotion. Cancer rules the breast and the stomach. Cancer represents our ability to nurture others and ourselves. This is why Cancer rules the breast and the stomach, which gives nourishment and nurturing to a newborn baby. Our emotions help us to be able to feel sympathy for others and also to understand ourselves. Our emotions are connected with our memories. Experiences in our past are remembered much better and for the long term when we feel an emotion strongly with that experience. It can be a harmonious or a discordant emotion. But we tend to forget experiences that have no emotional bearing with us at all. So, something with a strong emotion, experience with a strong emotion is going to be remembered a lot more than if you're listening to a teacher moan on and it's very boring and you don't have any emotional reaction. That's why a lot of us didn't remember much of what we were supposed to learn in high school, right? Not unless we had a note back in my day. We had paper notes being passed, and then you have an emotional reaction, and all of a sudden your teacher yells at you for having a note, and you're like, I'll remember this. I had one teacher, he was a chemistry teacher, and at some point, we all got used to this after a while, but at some point he'd be talking, all of a sudden he'd yell at the top of his lungs, "Hey!" And we all jumped. And but I bet you know what? I remembered a lot of that class. Anyway, I got y'all waking up, didn't I? Sorry. All right. Okay, and then Cancer, this is also where our intuition resides. We are usually not consciously thinking about our emotions. They are intuitive to us when we are having an experience. So emotions are quite different than thoughts. Emotions kind of are intuitive. Emotions can be a guide for us. They can lead us back to the past where a positive or negative experience had its beginnings and how it may still affect us to this day. We can discover what is causing us to repeat bad habit patterns by following our emotions to their beginnings. Here's where we use our emotions to help us understand our own issues from the past and be able to nurture and sympathize with others. So, with emotions, and I've done this myself, I had a strong reaction to something, and it was beyond the situation. I had a strong emotional reaction, and I thought later on when I calmed down, I went back and I thought, why? Why did I have that strong emotion? And initially, it just started unraveling about this person made me feel this. Why did that person make me feel this? She wasn't trying to make me feel this. I felt this because of her words. So then I decided to take the journey. When did that first happen? And intuitively, I found out. I discovered it was something from childhood, and this person reminded me of another person from my childhood. And we don't usually remember our emotions, like where they come from. It's only when they are triggered that we can use that when we want to and go back and find out the beginnings of that. And once I did, my interactions with this person became calmer because I understood it. I said it in my mind. I said, this reminds me of this. This is not happening right now. I don't have to react like that anymore. This is not what's happening currently. So our emotions can point us in the right direction if we choose to go follow it to discover where they started. All right. And so we are at Leo. Leo, I will, fire, inspiration. Leo rules the heart and the spine. Leo rules the will to power and our hearts. Leo rules our heart and soul. This is where we can bring up our vibrations with a willingness for love. So it's our will and our heart, both are for ourselves and for others. This will we will to do is where we have our freedom to decide. Nothing can be done without willing to do so. So this is equivalent to a desire or willpower, or desire to do something. Everything starts with the will to do something. Cultivate a strong will and willingness for love. And then the Virgo, I analyze. It's practicality. Oh, I want to say one thing about the spine and Leo, ruling the spine and the heart. In biology, you discover that the actual spine, not the bones, but the nerves in the spine, they wrap around your abdomen and they affect a lot of different organs. So the spine of Leo and the heart is like, it's like the engine. Everything can be affected by the heart through this and also through the spine. Okay, and now Virgo is I analyze. It's about earth, it's practicality again. Virgo rules the intestines and the bowels. So as you can tell, the zodiac, and we're just talking zodiac signs, not the planets. The planets rule different body parts. They kind of go together, but just know we're talking about the zodiac signs, and the zodiac sign starts with the top of your head and go all the way down to your feet. And they go kind of that in that order, just to know that. So Virgo rules the intestines, separating the dross from the pure. This is how we sort things we need from things we don't need. This is what our intestines do and with the food we eat. It sorts needed nutrients that are good for the body from other things in the food that needs to be eliminated. Here's where we have our critical thinking caps on. Here's where we can analyze data and facts and sort it out from fictions and fantasy. So all these zodiac signs, they each have a purpose, and we all have all of these things within us. So just know that what we don't want to do is have too much or too little. And this can help us when we're doing mental alchemy. We can realize some of these things when we look at our birth charts, that being critical, when there's too much criticism, when you're criticizing others, when you're criticizing yourself, when you're criticizing everything, that's not good. However, we all need a little bit of critical analysis in our lives. Just know that we don't need too much, but we also don't need too little. So just enough. All right, where are we? We are in Libra, I balance. Libra is an air sign, which is aspiration. Libra rules the kidneys and the lower back. And if you know about the kidneys are constantly processing your electrolytes. They're balancing salts and potassium. They're balancing all those nutrients in your body so that you don't have too much of something or too little of something. And we know that people that lose their kidneys can have serious problems. They can die, right? I mean, with everything, but I'm just saying these are important things to have, the balancing act. And this is what Libra is all about. Libra rules partnerships, mediation, and putting up a good fight with a known enemy. Libra energy brings affability, which means trying to please others. Libra thinks about others often and generally tries to make concessions. This is what we must do when we are in a partnership. We have to make compromises and think of others. However, Libra can pull out the verbal sword when they find someone is not appreciative of their bending over backwards to make someone comfortable. Here is where we want to find balance in being in harmony with others, but not to our own undoing of ourselves. And that just means I have some planets in Libra, so I understand this. There is that tendency in that area of life, wherever Libra is in your birth chart, to want to please others. And however, if you notice, if you're trying to please somebody and doing all this stuff for them, and then all they do is complain about everything, you'll get fed up pretty quickly, and a Libra will. And they'll say, forget that harmony thing. I'm mad. So in other words, it's always good in certain situations to be, to try to help others, be that. But you don't want to do it to the point of you're going to get mad if nobody appreciates. Do it if you're going to do it anyway. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but anyway, just saying, don't expect things from other people is what I guess I'm trying to say. If you're bending over backwards and you want somebody to see that, don't expect them to just notice. You either got to let them know somehow, or don't be mad if they're not appreciative of it. And that's all I guess I'm trying to say, is something like that. Okay, so now we have Scorpio. I desire water, emotion again. Scorpio rules the genitals. Scorpio rules sex and transformation. Scorpio has intense feelings about other people, places, and things. This is where deep connection can happen. Scorpio has empathy and can feel what others feel. Scorpio has deep reserves of intense emotional energy that can be like a magnet pulling what they desire toward them. This is a gas pedal that makes our vehicle get us to our goal faster when used correctly. Here is where we want to cultivate correct desires, so that when we feel deeply passionate about something, we can energetically bring it into our lives and achieve our goals. Okay. Sagittarius, I see, fire, inspiration. Sagittarius rules the hips and the thighs. Sagittarians are in between the other two fire signs of Aries, which is ruled by the head, and Leos, which are ruled by their hearts. Sagittarians are ruled where they can go to explore the world. They want to see everything for themselves. Here we are motivated by optimism and playfulness. Sagittarius loves higher education and learning about the philosophy of other countries. And we gain in our understanding of ourselves. Oh, wait a minute. Here's where we expand our consciousness by learning about others' cultures and philosophy, and we gain in our own understanding of ourselves. So Capricorn, I use earth, practicality. So we don't mean it in the manipulative way. We mean it in the practical way, like a tool. I use a tool. Capricorn rules the bones and the joints. It's kind of like if you think about the bones, it's our structure, but our bones have joints so that we can move. We don't need and Capricorn is a cardinal sign or movable sign. So it moves with our joints. I like the body analogies with the zodiac signs, because if I forget what something is about, I think about what it's ruled by. And I think, okay, our bones are our structure, it what our body is put on. Um, but it's not, like concrete. It needs to move. And our knees and our joints and our elbows. Yeah. All right. Capricorn is where we put all of our hard-won education to work for us. We can be industrious and businesslike. Capricorn Capricorn is authoritarian as well. A business needs a boss, and Capricorn acts like the most serious boss. Here's where we get serious about our life's goals and we work hard to make them happen. So we all have a place in our lives where we're serious, we're nose to the grindstone, we want to get something done. Um, we can be a little authoritarian about it, um, but that's a good thing as long as it's not overdone or underdone. We all need this in our lives, right? Um, this can help us get where we want our goals to be. All right. And the last two signs, Aquarius, I know, air, aspiration. Aquarius rules the calves and the ankles. Aquarius is a very progressive and usually possessing ideas more advanced than their companions. This is from the CC Zane material. They are inventive and scientific. This is where we may be pleasant, friendly, quiet, patient, determined, cheerful, sincere, easily influenced by kindness. There's artistic refinement, strong likes and dislikes, are interested in education and new discoveries, and like nothing better than an argument. so, so although Aquarius is an air sign, it's a fixed air sign. And I once dated an Aquarian, and I discovered that he took the opposite side of my argument, not because he believed in the opposite side of my argument, but because he was trying to find out why I believed what I believed. So it was basically a technique or a tool. And it's a tendency, the Aquarius part of us in our birth chart. We tend to be argumentative, not for the sake of being argumentative, but because that's how an Aquarian might learn something. Um, they're not saying, I'm disagreeing with you because of this. They're just trying to throw everything at you, and that's how they learn. And then once I learned that, I was not triggered by him taking the opposite side of my argument, even though he didn't even stand on that. So, and then there's Pisces, I believe, water, emotion. Pisces rules the feet. The feet, the foundation of the human temple. The feet are very important, right? Pisces people, through imaginative and dreamy, have the ability to flow into such grooves of the world's affairs that they are usually acquire the material things necessary for comfort. They are idealistic, sensitive, mediumistic, prone to worry, peaceable, sympathetic, prudent, modest, and often lack self-confidence. No other sign has such extremes of temperament and ability. For Pisces people will be found both on the height and in the depth, and some of them are successful in almost every line of human endeavor. So, our feet and the I believe. What I've discovered about Pisces and why it rules our feet is because we stand on our beliefs, right? Um, it's not sometimes when you meet people, you don't necessarily know what they believe right away. You can discuss all kinds of things, but you might not know their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, any other beliefs. But by the way, this is one of the strongest in the, I want to say, a, with a belief system. It might not be true, but it doesn't have to be true for it to be, what am I trying to say? um, Amazing things can happen through a belief system. So, yeah. I used to think of Pisces as, very malleable and easily moved, but it is, in a feminine way, it is a very powerful sign because beliefs affect our. Yeah. Anyway, we're moving on. So, based on what I said earlier and what we're going to do in later, I think later, well, no, we can do it in this one. So if you see what I did here, is I thought of the element table of charts, and I decided to make a chart with the zodiac sounds down the side and the planets above. And then these circles, this is not my chart, but you can put circles where in your birth chart where planets are located and where they come together. And why you would want to do that is because of something that I created. Let me go to my Zoom thing. And I'm going to pull up something else. Okay. You guys see this? Yeah. Okay. Let me make it bigger. Okay. And if you see the legend at the bottom, because I love teaching classes because I love to try to understand things better in a more simplified way. And I've seen the chart of exaltations, they're called. Exaltations are planets at their home, planets in detriment, planets exalted in a sign, planets in their fall. And I've seen those charts a million times, but I can't always put it with my birth chart. I always forget about it. So when I was making a table, I decided like color coordinate so that if my planet falls in one of these places, I can say, my planet's in the fall. Like I have my Venus is in Virgo. And if you see on the top, I started with Mars, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Sun, and then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. The reason I did that is because Aries rules Mars. And you see this color code means that's at home or rulership. So I started with Mars because it's in Aries. And there's almost like a pattern. Venus rules Taurus, Mercury rules Gemini, Moon rules Cancer, Sun rules Leo. It's kind of like a diagonal pattern. Anyway, this helps if you want to fill in where your planets are located. So my Venus is in Virgo, so I put Venus in Virgo, and I realize, hey, my Venus is in a planet of fall. I mean, of a sign of its fall. So I decided to make this chart. And I think that, you could print that out and write in your birth chart. But I also decided, what do these things mean in a very simplified way? So I filled in the chart based on, I started again with the top. Just remember, I'm starting with Mars, then I'm doing Venus, Mercury, Moon, Sun, and then the regular Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Just remember that. Okay. So Aries, I am. So I put I am. Mars is the aggressive energy. I am my energy. Taurus, I have my energy. Gemini, I think my energy. Cancer, I feel my energy. Leo, I will my energy. Virgo, I analyze my energy. Libra, I balance my energy. Scorpio, I desire my energy. Sag, I see my energy. Capricorn, I use my energy. Aquarius, I know my energy. And Pisces, I believe my energy. And I did this, and then you could make a circle, insert shape, circle. And then you could fill in your birth chart. And that would help you. These are just very simplified, but it's another way to think about your birth chart and to say, oh my God, I can at least have these little snippets of understanding of my birth chart in kind of like a chart. So again, Venus, social and values. And this is what CC Zane says. Mars is the aggressive tendency, Venus, the social urges, Mercury, the intelligence, Moon, the domestic, Sun, power, Jupiter, religion, Saturn, safety, Uranus, individual. And I put another extra word in there, except for Pluto, universal welfare. So, anyway, let's do, for me, I have my Sun in Cancer. I feel my significance. And that is very true. And I used to think I wasn't a Cancer because I have Leo rising, I have Mercury in Leo, and I have my rising sign, Mercury in Leo, and Mars in Leo. So I have a lot of Leo energy, and I used to not think I was a Cancer. But when I do this, I go, I feel my significance. Yeah, that makes sense. My sun is in Cancer. So anyway, this is a little chart that I will be able to let people have. Okay. And then I just decided to do it with the houses, right? And then of course, now I started with the sun and the moon, Mercury, and I went that way. Again, the same words up here. However, down here are the houses, right? House 1, personality, health, and body. House 2, money, personal property. House 3, thoughts, early studies. Now, these are 2 words, right? They're not the whole thing. But this is the beginning of learning astrology. You start with a couple of words, you get it down, and then you expand those words. Once you get that down, then you have a bigger understanding of astrology, right? So, we go all the houses, and of course, I decided to fill them in. And I used like a sentence. So let's start with this. Actually, yeah, let's start with the sun. Power and house 1. If your sun would be in your first house, my significance radiates, the sun radiates in personality, body, and health. If your sun, let's go drop down to 5. If your sun is in the 5th house, my significance radiates in my creative endeavors and entertainments. If your sun is in your 8th house, my significance radiates in others' resources, transformations, and inheritances. And then house 12, which is where my sun is located, my significance radiates in institutions and hidden enemies. That doesn't sound very romantic, but believe me, for me, knowing myself, I love certain institutions. I was in the Air Force when I was young, and I felt a natural affinity towards the military. It just made sense to me. Institutions, I'm part of the Church of Light. I've been here for a long time. It's a type of institution as opposed to where some people might find their significance in religious ways and other ways. I'm very comfortable in in institutions. So anyway, and then let's do Jupiter. Optimism and religion. House 1, my religious urges expands in my personality, body, and health. Let's go to Taurus, number 2, not Taurus, sorry. My religious urges expand in personal property and money. My religious urges expand in my thoughts and early studies. My religious urges expand in my home and real estate. My religious urges expand in my creativity and entertainments. My religious urges expand in my work routine, illness, and service. My religious urges expand in partnerships and open enemies, etc., all the way down. And I use these keywords like with the sun, I put radiates. With the moon, my emotions are reflected in personality, body, and health. If your moon's in your 1st house, emotions are reflected. Mercury, my intelligence is expression of intelligence. And where is it expressed? For me, mine's in my 12th house. My Mercury, my intelligence is expressed in institutions and hidden enemies. I express myself a lot in the Church of Light. So institutions again, Venus, my social values align. Okay. Mars, my aggressive energy flows. Jupiter, my religious urges expand. Saturn, my safety urges restrict. Uranus, my uniqueness expresses in. And Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So Mercury is my intelligence is expressed in. So Uranus is my uniqueness expresses in. So Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So Venus is my social values align. Neptune, my utopian urges align with my personality, body, and health. It fits in the 1st house. Pluto, universal welfare. Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. So my aggressive energy flows, my universal welfare urge, I put reflected. I guess that's more like the moon. Reflected. So, okay. So anyway, so I decided to do those charts. And then there's empty ones for you to fill in where your birth chart is. And this is something I'll put up for people to look at. All right, so let me get back to my PowerPoint presentation. Oops. Let me do this. All right, so that's what this I came up with. All right, and so there's only a couple more look time. That's all right. We might get done a little early. We can have talk or discussion, but we're also going to do some more. Bridie's going to take us on another meditation, but this last thing I kind of just put together general tips on directed thinking and induced emotion. On the directed thinking side, which is like our steering wheel, become aware of your thoughts. Keep a thought journal. Mercury rules the thoughts. Use meditation as a practice to help discipline the mind. Just as we exercise our body, we need to exercise our mind, right? Practice changing your thoughts in midstream. That's when I learned how to control my thoughts, is when I first became aware of my thoughts and I started in one place and I went to another. I said, wow, how did I get there? That's when I became aware of it. Every time I started to have a stream of thought, I stopped it. And that's like learning to control your thoughts, right? Practice control over your thoughts in the direction you steer them consciously. Don't allow old ruts to keep channeling old thought patterns. Okay, so what happens in our brains physically is neurons get connections. And when you have a constant thought, it's like a bridge gets made in your brain. And it says, hey, we have this thought all the time. We don't have to work hard all the time. So we're going to build a little bridge, and that connection is going to go quickly. It's almost like a computer, right? In a computer, there's I don't know the words for it, but understand that in a computer, when there's a quick thing, it's because there's a bridge made. So our brain does that automatically. So know that. So if you're in a negative stream of thought, um, it's an easy road to travel. So when you are starting to work with and wanting to change your thought habits, you're going to find an ease of things because you've thought of them over and over and over again, whether it's good or bad, right? So learning to say, well, this is easy thought. Yeah, it's nice and easy, but now I want to change it. Just know that it's going to take a lot of work to get, that it's almost like on a road that you travel or a bridge that you travel. Your ruts get there. Now, if you want to change it, you stop traveling that road, right? When you decide it, when you look at it. And then on the induced emotion side, which is like the gas pedal, become aware of your emotions. Again, the awareness is key because you need to become aware to when you want to change things. Keep a mood journal or a moon journal. And you can, once the emotion, if it's a triggering emotion or a strong emotion, once it's passed and it's moved on, if you have an emotional journal and you're not in that emotion anymore, you can look at it and then decide if you want to think about, well, maybe where did that strong emotion come from? Where did it originate from? And if I do want to change it, I want to know where it came from, because then I can dissipate its energy and say, I don't need that anymore to affect me if I choose. Using breathing techniques as practice to help moderate moods. Practice unraveling and finding the starting point of a negative emotion after it occurs. Practicing yoga, tai chi, martial arts, or other forms of exercise, which are nature's antidepressants. We all think there's a pill for everything, and I'm sure there is. However, if you want to use nature, I've heard this from a pharmacist. He says nature has a natural antidepressant. You move your body, and it changes your emotions. So these are just little quick tips. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. However, I'm going to stop sharing. It is, oh good. It's 10 till 8 my time. And Bridie, how long of meditation, or did you have like 20 minutes or so?
I can make it as long as we want to have it.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, does anybody have any questions or thoughts or have anything? Yeah, Gail? Hi. Oops, you're not unmuted yet.
Yeah, okay, thank
There
you.
you
Thank you for your presentation and thank you for the charts. They look wonderfully useful
go.
and
Okay.
really original. And I did have a question about the charts. Is there a program you use to make fonts for astrological symbols, planets and signs and so on? Or do we have to type it out?
I didn't, yeah, the sign, the symbols, oh yeah. For some reason, those are the hardest things to get.
Are
That's
you
why
talking
I
about a
just use the
spreadsheet?
words.
Because if you are, use the Wingdings font. The
Winged.
Wingdings font in a spreadsheet will have, it has the planet and zodiacal signs in it.
Well, thank you. Does that work only in the spreadsheet or maybe in a word processor too?
I don't know, I haven't used it in Word, but I have used it in Excel.
I give it a try. Thank you very much.
I'll just heads up, all the fonts, whether they're the Wingdings or others, should work in any Microsoft program, probably as of the last 2 years.
Thank you.
And also that, spreadsheet queen.
Yeah.
That's a running joke between me and Yvette. Do you have a key in the spreadsheet that explains what home, detriment, fall, and exaltation mean?
No, but that's a good thing to have, right? What they
Yeah,
mean,
for
not
our
just the
novice
words.
astrologers, yes.
Good idea. I'll have to add that. Add what they mean. Add what. Yeah, in the legend, I would do that. Okay. Anybody else? How? Yeah, Gail.
Just another thought. I wonder if there was any interest in either a practice group between sessions or anybody want to study together. Just wondering, something to think about maybe in a chat.
Okay. Okay. I haven't looked at the chat side yet. Okay. I guess some people are. I think Gail, you'd have to probably set that up. I don't have anything set up in Zoom and I don't have the time to do it in between. So maybe you, I don't know,
Well,
email.
if anybody is Yvette, I'm happy to host it.
Oh, okay.
Has everybody received their chart?
No,
No?
we were gonna do that for the next class.
Okay.
Oh, get his chart. I kind of just did the overview in the beginning and added some stuff I wanted to put in there, but I think we're going to talk about our individual charts later in the series of classes as we go. So yeah. So Bridie. uh,
So, and also, we didn't want to just do charts for everyone who said they were interested. We wanted to do charts for people who were actually participating. So, I have written down everyone's name that is in this class. I don't know if your name that is showing up here is the same name in your reservation. If it's not, then email Yvette and let her know, what correlates with what. I think I've identified pretty much everyone. And if you provided your birth information, we can get the expanded chart to you. And it's a chart report. So it's off of our web software that you can purchase on the website. And so they don't come for free. And I will provide one for everyone. And RJ, the charts that you get from when you join are the short charts. This is the expanded like 40-page charts. So it will have the expanded information. And it is a significant amount of information. So you have to really take it bite by bite, slowly keep going back to it. It can take a lifetime to really understand it. But I will get those out to everyone so you can start working with it that are here. Those people who receive it, if you could consider making a donation to the Church of Light, because these reports do have a significant amount of information, and they aren't provided for free generally. So we are providing it here because we appreciate your attendance and want you to have something to work with, and are hoping that you will be willing to consider donating to the Church of Light in receiving it. So those should be coming out to you if you've provided the email address, which I think most of you have in your reservation, and you'll get a link basically. So it'll come from Yvette. You'll get a link to your chart report, and then you'll be able to link into it. It's only available for a certain amount of time, so download it. So you can go in, link to it on the internet, and then download it, and then you can have it forever. And just make sure, like I said, that you download, because I don't know how long they last. I just know that they're not there for very long once they're generated. So yeah, we should, as far as your study groups are concerned, you can start getting going on them, because we'll start generating those and getting them out to you. And Yvette, what a wonderful class. Thanks so much for all the great information that you provided. And I think it was just such a wonderful start to this class. I think we're just going to have so much fun with it because you're setting the groundwork so well. So thank you.
So this is Jim McDonald. I have a question. I have the software. Do the leaders of this class, do you need my chart, or were you just doing that to provide a chart to me?
No, and if you have the software, then I am marking you off the list, Jim, so I will not
save your time.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else who has the software who doesn't need one? Peg, you have the software. You don't need it, do you?
Yes, I have the software.
Okay, so
Okay.
And
Gail has the software too. You don't need it, Gail? Okay, great.
And Michael? Michael has the software.
Oh, great.
Michael Cooley? Is that Michael Cooley?
Yes.
Okay. I know
Perfect.
the name. Who is HERME? I don't recognize that. What name did you use when you signed up? Herm? All right.
I don't recognize, let's see.
All the other names I recognize who signed up.
Right.
Herm, I don't.
HERME, what is the information you provided so we know, so I can check you off of this list?
She is not talking, apparently.
Okay. Sounds good. And what I will say is, it's likely that in upcoming classes, if we don't know who you are, we will then kick you out. So if you're not providing your information as to who you are, just so we can make sure we know who's attending, we will knock you out of the class. So
Yeah, there was 55 people that responded, and it looked like 17 people came. So
right. So I wasn't going to generate chart reports for people that didn't.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey, Bridie, check the chat too. I think Francis said that he has it.
Oh, great. Yes. And Emmy also has it.
Emmy Nelson.
Yes. Did Francis say? I don't see Francis's email. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Well, thanks, guys. That makes my work a lot easier for tonight. And then Sephora, I think you have to just go into your Zoom account and not run the AI in the future, because it's shown up twice here. So as two different people. And I know you were sort of noting that. Now does anyone else have any questions or concerns about moving into our next class? Okay, so is everybody okay with about a 10-minute meditation to get us into that mindset that helps us consider everything we've learned today? Great. Okay, so as we now come towards the end of our class and notice that we have learned a great deal today about lots of different things, including and specifically how our thoughts and feelings shape our lives, taking a couple of deep breaths and allowing ourselves just to receive the information within ourselves. Getting yourself comfortable in whatever way that works for you, lying down, sitting in a comfortable chair, however it works for you. No need to pay attention to the screen. You can lower your gaze or even close your eyes, allowing your focus to go inward. Noticing that the way that we create our lives includes a process of thinking and feeling that then generates out into actions. And those actions and or inaction is what creates the world around us for us. And then as we move into the next moment, that world that we are in, we have thoughts and we have emotions about it. And then again, we act out of those thoughts and emotions and then create the next world. So as we breathe, allowing ourselves to have an anchor in our chest area, whether that's in your lungs or in your heart, noticing that if anything ever becomes uncomfortable as we're talking about things, you can always bring your gaze back to your heart and your breath and take a couple of breaths. Moving into how our thoughts and our feelings shape our lives. Noticing that we will be moving into everything pertaining to the mind. And by the mind, we mean the astral mind. If you're not muted, please mute so that we don't have the background noise. I appreciate that. We notice that we have these experiences in our lives. We have these thought trains that come in. We have these emotional reactivity scenarios. We also have just emotionally conditioned energy. Noticing the emotionally conditioned energy that comes out of repeated experiences. And noticing that our lives tend to have repetition in it related to our conditioned energy, giving us the opportunity to over and over and over again try to alchemize those experiences in order to gain that more positive, that better experience, that more connected experience with the universe. Breathing into the expectation, breathing into the experiences that we have had, noticing what are the experiences, what are the thought trains, what are the repetitive instances in your life that you would like to alchemize? What do you notice is conditioned into your being? And as you think about that, And you use the charts provided to you later on, noticing we can tie those experiences into certain energies. Is it the energy of action? Is it the energy of inaction? Is it the energy of fear or concern? Noticing what is it that's held you back from your greatest desires, your greatest connectedness with the universe. Now being able to be excited that this class moving forward will provide the ways in which you can use what you have experienced and what you're experiencing in your life to alchemize the future, to move forward in the world in the way you choose, by understanding and utilizing the energies of the universe that are right here at your fingertips. All you need to know is a little more about how they work together. And you will receive in this course a lot of information and steps, step-by-step processes, ways in which you can really work with that energy. Noticing the hopes that you come to this class with. What are they? What is your mind giving you of the picture of what you would like to achieve from this experience? And breathing into those hopes and expectations. What are the desires of significance that you notice in yourself? What represents that desire for significance? What is it in your life that is your creative drive, your reproductive desire? Where do you notice that in your life? And nutritive desire, what are you seeking? What are you seeking to bring to yourself? What are you reaching out to in order to complete what you perceive is your destined location or purpose? As we dive more into this experience, it is those desires that we will continue to go back to. Where is it that you notice the Aries I am, or the Taurus I have? Noting that every one of us has these energies within us. Where do you find the Gemini, I think, in your life, in your experience? How about the Cancer, I feel? Or the Leo, I will? As we move through in this class, you're going to be able to note where in your life, what experience these energies are bringing to you, and then to the extent you would like to do so, how you can alchemize them. How about your I analyze with Virgo? Libra, where do you find balance in the I balance with Libra? Where do you find the desire in the I desire in Scorpio? Where do you see with the I see energies of Sagittarius? How about Capricorn's I use? And the Aquarius, I know. Where is it that you find the space of the Pisces, I believe? And noting that if you don't know the answer and I don't know is just as good as a I know. As you look at your birth chart, you'll be able to start to identify where you find these energies, how strong the conditioning is of those energies in your chart. And then you'll start to be able to identify where you would like to focus the alchemy that this class will take forward in your life. So as we just breathe into the experience of today, realizing how much we have learned and being excited about the additional learning that we'll be able to use in order to move into the space of applied mental alchemy. Inviting you to go out of this class with a sense of accomplishment, of being here, and a sense of excitement and hope for what it brings for you in the future. Knowing that you don't need to know anything right now. You just need to move forward in the steps, one step at a time, just the way that life reveals itself, one moment at a time. Breathing, allowing for all of this to just sink in, knowing there's no need to remember. All will come to you in time. And I just bring a sense of gratitude to all of you for being here, bringing your energy, and to Yvette for leading us through such a beautiful experience. Thank you very much. Yvette, you're on mute.
Thank you, Bridie. That was wonderful.
Awesome.
Just get right in there. It's like you don't even have to think about it. It's wonderful. In other words, you can get us into that meditative state and we don't have to try so hard. I know I don't have to try so hard. I love it. All right. All right. Well, I think this has been a great first class and we've got 5 more to go. So
And bringing another thought of that around from what you presented a lot of mindfulness and meditative techniques. One of the techniques that you brought into this, which I think is really helpful, is as you come out of the meditation in the class today, pulling out a notebook or a piece of paper and writing down those things that came to mind, that popped out. What are the experiences that popped out? What are the events of life that may have come to mind? It's those things that may have brought themselves to the forefront of your mind as you were moving through this process, that may be the things that are reaching out to you to be alchemized. They may or may not be, but what I found is a lot of times they are. And to capture them as you go along might be very helpful in really identifying those things you want to work on.
oh, somebody wrote, I've been writing in a Moon Mercury journal for 2 months, and let me tell you, it works wonders. It puts your day into perspective.
Do you
That's
see your name,
excellent.
Joao?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Joao.
Joao, perfect.
Joao. That's
Yeah.
great.
I just wanted to let everybody know. I heard it from a podcast that I like to listen, and they talk about all of this stuff. And they mentioned, oh, you should, like, if you write on a moon journal, you're gonna see like things changing in your life. And then I said, oh, I'm gonna give that a try. And then it first started, I just wrote like a couple lines. But then as you write more and more, like you try hard, I try hard to contain within one page because I wanted to do as many days as possible. And sometimes, oh, which thoughts do I write over here? Oh, which feelings do I write over here? So you just go on and on and on and on. And then you realize that once you put those things out, it's almost like a talk with yourself. You're almost like talking, like going through the day with yourself. It's almost like having a friend within yourself. It's crazy. I don't know. I think that's the best way that I explain this.
It's like Gemini, right?
Yeah, it's kind of have that little
Communicating
twin
self.
person with you.
And remembering
Exactly.
that the thinking and the feeling produce the acting and then the world that you have. So think, feel, act, have, and then it goes into think, feel, act, have, right? Every moment is a new version of think, feel, act, have. And yeah, there's a lot right there, right? Every moment of the day is that same sequence over and over and over again. If you
Yeah.
can catch it before the act, because you're paying attention to the think and feel, then your life changes, because how you act is how you generate your life. And just knowing that is the key to life right there. The key to
Well
life
said.
creation right there. So we are not dealing with anything difficult. We're dealing with things that may be challenging, but not difficult to understand. So yes, thank you so much, Joao, for bringing that. And we'll see you guys in a month.
Yep. June 4th.
I'll be here.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you all. All be well. Take care.
Bye.